Welcome, everybody, to the greatest Monday in Media Row history. Yes, the Seattle Seahawks are Super Bowl 60 champions. Let's go. I know everyone here in Des Moines and the Drake fans that listen and the Missouri Valley fans are all Seahawk fans too, which I hope a lot of Drake fans honestly were cheering on the Seahawks, given that Eric Sober, a former Drake Bulldog, is now a Super Bowl champion. But my favorite team, the team I grew up cheering on, had done it. An unbelievable game. I know if you're not a Seahawks fan and if you're a Patriots fan, worst Super Bowl, one of the worst Super Bowls. It was an ugly Super Bowl for a lot of that game. Seahawks fan don't matter. All that mattered was that the blue and green confetti came down. I'm on cloud nine, if you can't tell. But I'll try to calm down so we can get to everything on today's show. But thank you all so much for tuning in. Welcome, if you are brand new, to the Media Row podcast. Click that subscribe button if you have yet to do that. And follow us all over social media at Media Row Pod. And then, of course, just don't support us. Also support those that help make the show possible in Kelly's Little Nipper at 1701 East Grand Avenue in Des Moines. Kelly's Little Nipper, great food, great drinks, and even better community. Let's jump right into it. We have Drake men's basketball, Drake women's basketball to talk about. I'm going to start with my Seahawks, though. Honestly, one of the greatest sports moments for me as a fan personally, because this Seahawks team, Seattle has always been my team. They were the brand new team when my dad was 6 years old. So being born and raised in Des Moines, Iowa, he didn't want to be like everyone else and be a Packers, Vikings, Bears. So he picked the brand new team. He didn't see a Super Bowl for 30 years. There's photos of me out of the hospital wearing Seahawks onesie, Seahawks gear. Been a diehard Seattle fan. It just feels so good when you have cared about a team your whole life to see that happen. And I know they'd won a Super Bowl, 11 years ago, 12 years ago it was. But I didn't get to watch those with my dad just because of his work schedule or other plans came into the way. So being able to watch that Super Bowl with him and see the Seahawks team win, it was just a really cool family moment. And it was a really awesome experience. And I'm on cloud nine. I can't stop smiling. I'm all over the place. I know. But this was an amazing, amazing Super Bowl victory for the Seattle Seahawks. Even if you're not a Seahawks fan, I think you have to start here and understand that not only just for the Seattle Seahawks, but I think for the NFL as a whole, this is arguably one of the greatest Super Bowl runs we've ever seen. You not only have a second-year head coach, you not only have a quarterback that has been tossed aside and given up on by multiple franchises, even the franchise that he just won 14 games with a year ago, gave up on him. You have all this going up against the Seahawks. They were picked to finish third or last in their division. And they go on arguably the greatest run, Super Bowl run in NFL history, easily the greatest Super Bowl run, I think, in Seahawks history, with just the low expectations that were given on this team. And yet all of a sudden they go through and they beat the 49ers, dominate the 49ers. They beat their rivals in the Rams. And then they go and they get revenge on the New England Patriots. We all had to hear about the 1 yard line play. We all had to see that replay. There were bets on if Seattle would pass it if they got down to the 1 yard line in the Super Bowl. You erase that. You also erase the uniform curse where Seattle, every Super Bowl, they wore their home blue. They lost in, not this year. And the confetti on top is winning the Super Bowl on the 49ers field, blue and green confetti coming down at Levi Stadium. Warms my heart. Honestly, one of the greatest runs I've seen It was outstanding. Storyline after storyline. Great comeback stories by players. Amazing. And that defense just met business. I know it was probably boring for, if you're not a fan of the Seahawks or the Patriots, I know it was probably a disappointing Super Bowl. Give credit to that defense, though. I mean, I talk crap about how awful Super Bowl 50 was between the Panthers and Broncos. This one had a similar feel, honestly. But you give credit to that Broncos defense, and you have to give credit to that Seahawk defense. I mean, they just came out and absolutely handled that offensive line of New England. They got 6 sacks. Nwosu with that pick 6 was incredible. That was finally the first moment where I sat there and felt good. I don't know if you guys could tell. Clearly didn't tweet anything out, post anything until the final whistle. And that was all by design. I threw my phone in the kitchen and didn't look at it I put it in the kitchen, I think at like 5:15. Kickoff was 5:30. It was a great way to watch a game, to be honest, to not look at your phone, constantly be scrolling on social media. Unreal. I'm talking fast, I know. I gotta cool off a little. But that was just an awesome experience. And so another thing I have to add in here is hand up accountability. I know I'm hyped about this team. I'm talking about how great of a Super Bowl run this is for not only the franchise, but the entire league. I did not see it coming whatsoever. I thought this team was going to miss the playoffs. I was agreeing with the people that put this team at 3rd and 4th in the division. I questioned the move of Geno to Sam Darnold. I didn't know with DK Metcalf leaving if JSN was going to be a perfect wide receiver 1. I didn't know if Cooper Kupp still had it in him despite his age. I had a lot of question marks with this team, and they just proved me and everyone else wrong by dominating the 49ers, beating the Rams, and revenge on the Patriots. It just feels so good. Feels so good. But so the Seahawks are your Super Bowl champions. Credit to Drake May, Mike Vrabel, Coach of the Year. Drake May, 2nd in MVP. That's a very good team, and a Patriots team that is up and coming. I mean, they will be back sooner than later, in my opinion. Vrabel's a great coach. You had a lot of youth on that offensive line. They're going to improve. May's going to improve. That's a really good team, and a lot of respect to the Patriots. Oh, feels good. Feels good, and I appreciate everyone that contacted me after the game and said congratulations and cheered on the Seahawks with me. I appreciate that. But that'll do it for the NFL year. Crazy to think about. Just like that, it's over. Started with me actually going to Lambeau Field to watch the Seahawks in a preseason game with my brother, and ended in Levi Stadium with the Seahawks winning the Super Bowl. All right, let's jump into the Drake section of today's show to kickstart your week, because we have a lot to get to on the basketball side of things. Men's basketball and women's basketball, both tough weekends, tough stretches at Illinois State as both teams took on the Redbirds, and both teams unfortunately falling to the Redbirds. Let's start with the men's team on Friday night. Drake men fall by 10 at Illinois State, 86-76. That is now their 3rd straight loss. Tough stretch for this Drake Bulldog team after what had felt like things were turning around, especially after that huge home victory against Murray State. Illinois State, on the other hand, a lot of positives that we'll talk about here with this Redbird team. First and foremost, though, they complete a season sweep over the Drake Bulldogs for the first time since 2019. That's kind of crazy to think about. Illinois State has had some good teams. I know Drake has had some fantastic teams, but honestly, I thought it would have been longer. I know Illinois State has had some good teams and Drake has had some fantastic teams. I did think it was going to be a longer stretch. So 2019, though, still impressive for both teams, honestly, when you look at that stat. Impressive for Drake to sweep or to control this series for as long as they did, and then Illinois State to finally break out of that losing streak. Redbirds, though, let's talk about this team. This was the team that I had as my preseason favorite on the show. The Valley itself had them as their preseason favorite, but a huge bounce back. They lost to Southern Illinois 54-50 before this Drake game, and that gave me a false confidence, maybe. But I don't even want to say false confidence. I know Drake had lost 2 straight, and I know it hadn't been pretty on that defensive side of the ball. Here's the thing. Illinois State was really disappointing me. Every time I'd watch them, every time I'd read about them, every time I'd listen to other shows talk about Illinois State, it was not the conversations, it was not the sites, it was not the stats I thought this team would be putting up at this point in the year. I was very disappointed with how Chase Walker was so high and low in his games and how he was failing to really shoulder the pressure the team was putting on him. And it was disappointing me in how much pressure the team was putting on him. They have Pence, who is a good forward that showed great growth at the end of last season. He's been inconsistent. Kingsinger got kicked out of the starting lineup for a little bit with this team, and he's been a guard I've been really positive about, both during the season and way before the season even began. So it was disappointing to me to see this team that had so many veterans and experience hitting the floor to really go out there and just put it all on Chase Walker. And if he struggles, then the whole team struggles, is how it felt. And that is not what I saw coming by this Illinois State team whatsoever way back in November when we were previewing the entire Valley. So, yeah, they only put up 50 against SIU. They come back home, and I'm sitting there going, look at this Drake team. I know they've lost 2 in a row, but that offense has played well. Illinois State on both sides hasn't impressed me. This could be a very winnable game for Drake. Illinois State came back. The team that I think I've been waiting to see came back on Friday. Shot the ball outstanding. It was very impressive. 50% overall in the second half, 45% throughout the entire game, and then especially from the three-point line, 12 of 21 from deep. We'll get into that perimeter defense by the Drake Bulldogs, because do we ever need to talk about that? But they convert 12 of 21, a huge reason they were able to win this game. 4 players with 10-plus points. They don't trail once in this game. Not for a single second. Not even for half a second. It was all Illinois State from the tip. 4 players with double figures. You have Coleman leading the way with 19 points, 5 of 8, 2 of 3. He was the guard that kind of came in and played and started over Kingsinger the last couple of games. Kingsinger started with the Drake game. Walker played like how I've been hyping him up this whole year. 18 points, 8 of 9 from the floor, 1 of 1 from deep. This is that Illinois State team I've been preaching about, that I was hyped about, that I was projecting them to win the entire thing because of how connected they are. That was the word I used on my tweet in the postgame recap of the biggest difference. Sure, statistically, you look at the 3-point percentage, you look at the turnovers by Drake, the points off turnover differential, you look at all the box score stuff, of course. But really, what felt to me the biggest difference between these two teams was how connected Illinois State seemed. I mean, nothing fazed them. They didn't get in their heads. They didn't allow the stuff they couldn't control to control their performance. It was really impressive to see this team come out so connected. And that's what I've been waiting for. I've been waiting to see all these veterans play like veterans. And I've been waiting to see, of course, you're going to rely on Walker, who's one of the best big men in the conference and who is a very talented player, a player last year in St. Louis. People were talking about having the opportunity to transfer from Illinois State, a mid-major school, a Missouri Valley school, to a Big Ten program from where he grew up in Columbus, and going to Ohio State. That's the kind of caliber player they have. I get you're going to try to go through him. He's going to be your main X factor, but come on. You have so much talent around you. That is what we were waiting to see on Friday night, and they actually utilized it, where they got Walker the ball with his back to the basket. They allowed him to stretch the floor, but he has to get help from his bench depth and his starting depth and his other veteran players to even be able to do one of those things, and that's what he got with the 4 players scoring in double figures. And they just controlled this game on both ends of the floor, especially offensively, where they could really do what they wanted against Drake because they were shooting the ball so effectively. So moving forward, do I think this Illinois State team can shoot 12 threes a game, shoot over 50% in every game? No, I don't think so. But this is a very promising step forward if you're a Redbird fan, because you are now seeing this team connect. You are seeing what happens when they play against a team that has played against top-tier Valley squads pretty good. I know the Belmont game didn't go at all how you would want it to go if you're a Drake fan, but you win against Murray State every game you are in. So if you're an Illinois State fan, you're looking at Drake and you have respect for this Drake team, even though they have a losing record right now. Huge step forward, though. You're making progress if you're Illinois State. They're now only 1 game behind Bradley, and their next 3 games are all winnable. I think, though, they must go at least 2-1. So their next 3 games are Evansville, Valparaiso, and UIC. Evansville must win. You can't lose to Evansville. That takes away any sort of momentum you just built on Friday if you're Illinois State. Evansville, a team that can be scary at times. I think Drake made them look a lot better than what they are. That's a bottom tier team. Not to be disrespectful, but to be blunt, to be honest, that is a bottom tier Valley team that you should chalk that as a W. Valpo UIC, you have to win one of those to keep this momentum going. You can afford to lose to one of these teams because they are way better than what their record shows. And we've talked about both of these teams being scary talented, scary good all year long. Valpo, a team that lost so much, but man, did a really good job of going into the transfer portal and finding guys that fit the system. And that's what has made Valpo be able to compete with just about anyone on the floor and pull off some really outstanding wins. That's going to be really difficult. UIC, a team that everyone was overlooking, not talking about whatsoever out of Chicago. I mean, you watch games in UIC arena, empty. It looks like no one's there. You shove them to the side. All of a sudden, January turns around, and this team can shoot the lights out of any arena. They have terrific guard play. Everyone can shoot the ball, and the speed at which they play is really impressive. Valpo and UIC are going to challenge Illinois State. They are going to push them to the brink. I think Illinois State can at least go 2-1, but you really want to try to go 3-0. These are winnable games for Illinois State. You are the preseason favorite. You have a good coach. You have the veterans. You have the experience. Now go out and prove it. You can make a huge leap in the standings with Murray State still not looking great. Bradley right there hanging on to that 3rd spot. Belmont right now is controlling the entire conference. We talked about that on the last show. But UIC is right behind your tail. You can start separating yourself out and it all starts with these next 3 games. Must go 2-1 to keep that momentum, to keep the confidence going, I think, in the fan base. But this is a huge opportunity moving forward for the Redbirds. Now, enough about Illinois State. This is a Drake podcast. What am I doing? Let's talk about the Drake Bulldogs. 3rd straight loss. I'm going to talk about the positives first. Glass half full guy. It's who I am. But there's more negatives. So I'm going to wait to do those in a little bit. A few positives. Throughout the entire 3-game losing streak, the offense has looked good. I will say the offense has impressed me. They've shot over 40% in all 3 games. They shot 53% against Belmont. They scored 90 points against Belmont. They've looked really good on the offensive side. It's that defense that we'll talk about here in a couple of minutes that has really hurt this Bulldog team. Offensively, though, they're spreading the floor. They're getting guys involved. And it's not just Jalen Quinn, putting up 30 plus every game. You're getting a lot of consistent play from a lot of different players. Quinn, of course, has continued to get his. He's that style of guard, I should say, that can really create his own shots, can really do whatever he wants on that side of the ball. He put up 17 against Illinois State on Friday. But he had 4 of the 5 starters putting up 14 plus points. Federico, with his best start of the season, he goes out there 13 points, 4 of 4, 2 of 2 from deep in that first half. Really impressed me, and it was against Chase Walker too. That's what was the most promising sign from Federico. Someone who I've been critical of these last few weeks because it just seems like he hasn't found that comfortability, that confidence that we saw earlier in the year. But we saw it against Illinois State, against one of the best big men. This team offensively has found a rhythm. They found their identity offensively, which is something I think a lot of us Drake fans, we've been concerned, getting headaches over about this identity of this team. And now you're starting to see the system of Henderson's offense start to come together, where it's drive and kick out, it's high screens, it's getting the ball to your playmakers in position and not just giving it to them like at the start of the year or even in the start of this month, I should say, where it felt more like get the ball to Thomas or Quinn. And then everybody just kind of stands in their one spot. They don't move without the ball. And they just sit there and they're like, all right, let's see what he can do. Okay, he missed it. Let's get back on defense. Is how it felt to me. Now it's more, all right, we're going to get you the ball in your position. Or we're going to get to our position. There's a lot more movement with this offense. And that's just a team growing. That's a coach and his staff implementing their system and growing within their own system. That is where it all comes down to. So those are the positives I'm taking from this team. And I should mention too, I think in this Illinois State game, Owen Larson showed me something I haven't seen from him all year, where he's been very high and low, like this whole team has. I mean, really, this whole team ebbs and flows. Owen Larson, though, I've seen him in this last month really get comfortable. And we talked about him a lot a few weeks ago. But what I've noticed is if he starts cold, he doesn't really get out of that trench. I mean, he may put up 8 points, but it's not a pretty 8 points. It's a quiet 8 points. And you want to see more from a starting guard. Then he started to go on that roll where we're like, look at Larson go. This is the Owen Larson Coach Henderson was bringing over and talking so highly of, and that all of us fans have been waiting to see with his ACL injury. It's the 20 plus points, 15 plus points, consistent shooting. That's what we've been waiting to see. But it was if he started hot, he stayed hot. If he started cold, he stayed cold. What he showed against Illinois State was he started off cold. I mean, that first half, I think he only had 4 points. I'm sitting there going, there's There's the old Larson. And then that second half hits, and best improvement mid-game I've seen from Owen Larson, where he finishes with 14-plus points. And he just looked confident in that second half. And it's one of those where you sit there and go, okay, that's showing tremendous growth. Sure, putting together a couple of 15-plus point performances in a row, stacking together wins, like he did in the middle of January, you're sitting there going, there's his growth, there's his comfortability. This, I think, shows more where you can have a player who is still young, still a young player, still a player that isn't fully healthy. He's just coming off of an injury and missing as much time as he did. For him to be able to start off cold and then adapt and make adjustments in his own game and help the team cut into leads and put up 10-plus points in the second half alone, that showed me tremendous growth and the leadership you want to see from your starting point guard. So I want to make sure I got that in as well with the positives for this Drake men's team. But now let's jump into the negatives. We have a lot of negatives. And let's just start with that perimeter defense. Horrific. It's so hard to watch. I mean, Monday night, they play Valpo. I'm going to try to talk to Henderson, depending, of course, on how the game goes. But talk to Henderson about just what he's seeing from this perimeter defense and try to get a real answer, which Henderson's been great at. I'm not trying to insinuate that he hasn't been real with his answers, but try to get something like X's and O's. Try to explain what he's seeing, because this offense or defense just hasn't been there. And it's leaving guys wide open. It looks like miscommunications. It looks like the team doesn't want to battle through screens. Looks like they just don't want to get tough on defense, to be blunt. It looks so easy to shoot against this team. And when Belmont puts up 17 threes, you go, it's Belmont. That's Alexander, an Alexander coach team. That's the best three-point shooting team in the conference. They have Lundblade. Everyone can shoot the ball. When UIC does it, you say the same thing. When Bradley does it, you go, that's a really good team, a tall team, a really physical team. When Illinois State does it, who's sitting at like 7th or 6th in the conference, when they put up 12, when Indiana State puts up a great three-point shooting night against your defense, when Evansville, one of the worst three-point shooting teams, the bottom of the barrel in the Valley, when they put up 16-plus threes, now you got some real issues. You have real concerns. And that's what every team has done. They've lost 3 straight, but in the 4 previous games, every team has shot 10 or more, has made 10 or more threes, and well above their average. The only team that didn't shoot more than double their 3-point average was Belmont, but that's because they already make almost 11 threes a game. They hit 17 against Drake. They average 11 a game. Everyone else more than doubled their 3-point shooting. And it's hard to watch. And sure, the offense is finding a rhythm, but like we saw in all these games, it doesn't matter how great your offense plays. You need balance to win games. You put up 90 plus, that most people go, sweet, how much did you win by? No, you lost by 10 still at Belmont because of the defensive errors. And now it's not all on the defense. A lot of it is on the defense, but the offense, even though I just spent 10 minutes praising their offense, the turnovers are getting real bad, where you're having Quinn turn over the ball way too much. Owen Larson had a couple of really odd turnovers against Illinois State, dribbling off his shin or shoe, and you just have unforced errors, and they stack up. They really do. They had 10 turnovers, and that's 13 free points for Illinois State. And so it's just more of the same old we're seeing from this Drake team. There's been some positives. There's been signs of growth from both the coaching staff, from both the players, but we're not seeing adjustments. We're not seeing the adjustments. I wish I could remember the person that put out this tweet, because I think it's one of the best points anyone has said about Drake, me included. I don't even always say the best things. This is perfect, where he can say, it was somewhere on the lines of, I trust Coach Henderson, but I can still be upset with the lack of adjustments. I think that's perfect. A perfect summarization of the last few months, where you see Henderson, you like Henderson, you're giving him time, because it's not fair to want a guy out if you're Drake after just 3 months. The adjustments you're not seeing, though, from some really glaring issues. The turnover adjustments, not there. And then the 3-point adjustments, we're not seeing whatsoever. It's the same story every game. So Drake falls by 10, 86-76. They have Valpo coming up Monday night against at the Knapp Center. That's going to be an intense game. I'm excited to watch it for multiple reasons. Drake fan, going to a Drake game, sign me up any day of the week. But it's more just, as a basketball fan, this is a really fun Valpo team to watch. So it'll just be exciting to see how these two teams that are, you have Drake fans seeing a 12-13 record, me included in the summarization, where you look at that 12-13 record and go, my goodness, not what we expected whatsoever. Then you have Valpo fans, 12-13, and you're sitting there going, oh, look at us go. And that's how I feel about Valpo, like that, way better than I thought they would be. But so Drake takes on Valpo, 6:30 at the Knapp Center. We'll be there live, of course, Monday night. So follow along at Media Row Pod on Twitter. Staying with the Drake basketball conversation, moving over now to the women's side, though. But the conversation is very familiar in the terms of same old. The Drake women fall to Illinois State, 77-70. They've now lost 5 straight. And it's the turnovers. It's the cold shooting. And that's what it comes down to. The same old. This Drake team, for 3 quarters, can keep up with anyone. And then for some reason in that 4th quarter, they did better against Illinois State, but still couldn't finish it. Some reason in those final 10 minutes, it just, everything goes out the window. And I don't know what it is. And next time we're fortunate enough to talk with Pullman, we're going to bring it up. Of just what she's seeing. Because what I'm seeing, I don't even know how to explain it. Because you don't see foul trouble. You don't see a team that's tired. I don't even want to say you see a team that's unfocused, but that's the best thing I can come up with right now. Is the final 10 minutes, you just don't have that connection that you do for the first 30, where they can start off slow at every game and they could bounce back in the 2nd quarter. We've talked all season long about the great growth and adjustments you see from Pullman and her group coming out of the locker room heading into the 3rd quarter. But this 4th quarter, they just fall apart. And it sucks when you have that gut feeling every game where you could be leading going into the 4th, and something in the back of your mind is saying, I don't trust it. Wait to really smile and celebrate and get excited after the final buzzer. So it's just the same old for both teams. Now, there's some positive, same old. Anna Becker. Let's give her flowers. The true freshman. Unbelievable streak she is having right now. She finishes with 17 points. 10 of the last 11 games, Anna Becker has scored 10 plus points. She has been incredible. She has been a player that we talked to Pullman at the start of January, and she talked about how Becker at times had that freshman, mindset of like, I can't make a mistake. I'm going to pass up this open shot just so I don't miss. And it was Pullman talking about how she took it upon herself to really push Becker to be like, we all know how great of a shooter you are. We all recruited you for a reason. Pop it. Let it fly with confidence. And it has really felt like in these last 11 games, she has flipped a switch where she's like, all right, I'm gonna back a player up in the paint. Her post moves, I still need to ask Pullman who is coaching these players in the post, if it's her, if it's a different assistant coach. But Becker's been incredible. She's out there looking like Maggie Taylor in the post. Just great fundamentals with footwork and not putting the ball on the ground, not turning it over, attacking the paint with confidence. And then that's opening up her three-point shooting game. So Becker's been incredible. We said same old in a negative way. This is same old in a very positive way, where you just have this true freshman really turning a corner. So you have a positive for Becker improving. Overall, the team, it's very low right now after losing 5 straight. Here's the last positive I'll say before we finish up today's show. Drake has still a great opportunity to finish the regular season on a great run. They only play 2 teams in the top 6 of the Valley the rest of the season. The rest is the bottom tier teams. Drake can win. Drake is much better than the bottom tier teams. Even though their record isn't showing, even though they've lost 5 in a row, this team can go on a great run. And that's all you're going to ask for as a Drake fan. That's all you're going to ask for if you're Pullman. And to be honest, think about the confidence that would put on this team and the mindset of, look, we just won 8 straight or whatever it'd be right before our conference tournament. So there's still some positives, still a lot of adjustments to be made. And that goes for both the men, that goes for the women. It's going to be a final stretch, a final month of making adjustments and really throwing everything at the whiteboard, seeing what happens, seeing what gets fixed. But that will do it for today's show. A huge thank you to everyone tuning in. Make sure you click that subscribe button. Thank you to DKG Images for the Drake basketball photos, as always. And then, of course, thank you to Kelly's Little Nipper at 1701 East Grand Avenue in Des Moines. We will see you guys on Wednesday as we recap some Drake men's basketball, as we will be there live Monday night covering the Drake Valpo game at 6:30. We will see you guys then on the latest episode of the Media Row podcast.